Hey everyone, I am Nikki with Fulfill Your Legacy, and I'm so happy that we get to visit with each other over this video. So, Andrea asked me if I would do a video that talks a little bit about having the freedom to dream. She's doing this really cool project, and she asked if I'd be a part of it, and I said sure. So, there's 4 questions that she wanted me to answer, and here we go. Number one is, what dream are you living right now? So, if I really be truthful, I am like right in the center of it because it keeps growing. And that's the way I think that if we're really in and if we're really living out the dream that has been set inside of us, we're never done because God is never done with us. So I would be thinking good and hard. And these dreams were putting us before we were born. And as we get closer to Him, they open up more and we're able to see more. And so, yeah, I mean, the dream that I'm living is really all based around transformation, and that we do this transforming through God and through Christ. And I signed every one of my first books, yeah, I do have them both here. I signed every one of my first books with Romans 12:2, which is be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This second one is where you take that personal relationship with God to transforming your own life and then taking it into your home. That's what this one is about. So when I say, I'm living out this transformational dream, it's really what I do, and I truly am living it. I used to be a director of nursing, and 3 years ago, I quit that so that now I am helping others transform their life. So I am a transformational life and business coach. So it doesn't matter if you are out going after straightening up your life and really making it fuller, and it doesn't have to be in a bad place, but you just have this nudge that either I need to get it together or there's something more. And I think if you can partner your life deeply with God and understand what that really means, that He will transform your life to a really amazing place, a place you can hardly dream of. Okay. And then same with your business. I work with business people, and I do the same thing there. And the reason why I'm passionate about that is because this is the journey and the dream that I'm on. And now I just share it with other people. So taking that God partnered purpose and passion that we get when we are aligned with Him, your call, one might say, and now about half of everyone I coach then wants to take it further and use it to change the world and make a business out of it and really impact a large number of people. So I love to help them do that. And I do it the same way. I can be a great business coach. There's a lot of them out there, but I really make sure that people are doing this with God at the foundation of the business that they have. Just God being a part of every decision you make, God being a part of how you project and dream your company where it might be. So, all those sorts of things. So, that's what I'm doing. I'm living that out and I'm bringing people along with me. Okay, question number two is, what caused you to listen and kind of step in or go for this dream? So, yeah, I mean, you can clearly see I was a director of nursing for 20 some years. I was 26 years old when I stepped into that role. And 3 years ago, so I'm turning 50 in a few weeks. And so at 27, my last child had gone off to college. Things were changing at work where, I had been raised up in my workplace very fast. And so I was at a place where my work was requiring me to get my master's and to go on for more schooling if I wanted to stay in my role. And so I knew I was going to have to go back to school. And at the same time, you know how God works. Um, Doors were opening up to me, and I was getting these nudges, and I was bored to death, which is crazy because I was passionate about the work I was doing. And all of a sudden, I was bored and felt this constant nudging. So, what caused me to go for it is I started listening. I stopped listening to the world and I started listening to God. And shamefully, it was probably the first time that I truly sought God. I think that this is the way it is in the world for many of us, that a lot of us have some pretty great lives. We're pretty blessed here. And, a lot of us are doing well. I mean, I was making great money. My husband's making great money. Kids are gone. I mean, we didn't have any life crazy things that were happening to us. And I really didn't have a need to buckle down on my knees and seek God. when little things would happen to our family or loved ones, I'd always go to God in prayer, and I loved God. Don't get me wrong. I went to church and all that. But there's a difference between this sort of passive faith and this lived in faith. And that's what I did at age 47. So I really started calling on God, like, what am I supposed to do? Where should I go back to school? I was going to be a counselor. Should I, just seeking him for my answers. And I didn't want to make the decision on my own. I wanted him, and I never put all of my chips in to God. And so I was doubling down on him, and he just started flying doors open, and my business has grown very fast, and I know that's why. And that's why I help other people do it, because God has plans for all of us. He has dreams that are set inside of all of us. And so we need to listen. And so I guess listen is the answer. I started listening to God. All right. Next, gifts and talents. Question number 3 is, how much do they play into all this? Amen. I mean, God, think about this. If he has a call for you, he is not going to give you a gift that doesn't match up with it. So if you're wondering what your call is, go look at what your gifts are, because often of course, they're related. And I call this the sweet spot. And I have a talk show that says Living Within the Sweet Spot is the title of it. It's the big coaching component out of this first book, Living Within the Sweet Spot. And that's a place where you're empowered by the work you do, the health you're in the relationships you have. And all that comes from knowing God, having a relationship with him, being able to hear him. I want you to almost think of like shopping in Walmart or something. Kids everywhere, right? And you're there and you've got your kids, and all the way across the other side of the department, you hear mom. And it's weird, right? You can cut through all this noise, and you're like, oh, that's my child. Now, there could have been 10 kids. There was probably 10 or 20 kids saying mom, but you hear your child's voice. Our God hears our voice, but do we call out to him? And same goes the other way. Those kids all heard every other mom saying, get down, come here, all these things, but until they hear your voice say it. And so if I don't live with God, I'm not going to hear him. And I'm not going to understand who he is. I'm not going to recognize the voice. And so this sort of getting close to God is really essential in knowing even what your gifts and talents are. He's going to be telling you, he's going to be guiding you, but also really think about what's come easy for you. I think that it's so important to understand that, God led me all these years where I thought I wasn't living into my call. I don't want people to ever think that they've wasted it or it's too late, because God has a big plan for you, and he has a big plan for me, and he's not wasting any time. So for 20 some years, I was in a wonderful position to become a strong leader of a lot of women and some men, and it has served me well in my job. And I learned how to flex for different people. When you think about my gifts and talents that were natural born, even before him putting me in this career that developed some talents, I, like my mom would say, you from the time you were a baby, would recognize kind of somebody that had more, and that I would try to help them know that it's fine, and you're going to be more, and it's going to be fine, and encourage them and build them up. And I didn't know this, but I did this. And then when I looked back and kind of thought, yeah, I did. But to me, uh, all I saw was my friend, or or somebody who was hurt, or somebody who whatever. And I just knew they had more. And so that's something that I'm using right now, and it feels good to be here. It's my sweet spot, right? The other thing I want to point out about gifts and talents are he doesn't waste areas that are not of your talent. So it's a hard thing to grasp onto, the whole idea that we should love our difficult times, right? I wish I could come up with exact words. You guys know the Bible verses, but basically I rejoice in my sufferings or something like that. So I had a learning disorder growing up. And so reading was very hard. I really didn't read well until I was 11 or 12 years old. And well is not well by your standards. It was, at least able to get through a homework assignment. I probably didn't read well by normal standards until I was 16. But regardless, it affected me. It did a couple things. It taught me that my parents loved me unconditionally, and I understood at a young age that love and acceptance had nothing to do with performance. Later, this came to be such a good gift for me. Now working with coaching clients, they need to know that I don't expect them to be perfect. I don't care. All I care about is trying to be like the perfect one. And besides that, when you have the love of God in you, and you really start to tap into that and get God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit in you, like, you see everyone as God's child, and it's your job just simply to love them to wholeness. You don't see hardships or whatever, right? Okay, so that's good. But also, it had me persevering. Like, I had to work so hard to learn. I had to pay attention and listen really well because I couldn't read. And all these things later in my sweet spot where God's wanted me in my call, now I coach and I have to listen really well. And I know that everybody learns differently. I learn differently. And so it's been such a blessing to be able to coach other people in a way that I know they're going to learn. Like, I'm looking at them and seeing them. It's not just me kind of teaching it in a certain way. I'm like, I need you to grab the concept. And so that's been a blessing. And last, what advice do I have? So my advice is going to be the same as what my dream was, and how God's worked in me, and how I work in other people. My advice is get transformed. Romans 12:2. Literally, how can you live out your dream if you don't even know what that dream is? And don't dream a worldly dream, dream a God sized dream. And in order to do that, you have to know Him. You have to be able to hear His voice. It's such a blessing to hear God whispering to you what to do next. And it is for everyone. You can hear Him, it is possible. And so I say, be transformed. Start to tune out the world and slowly educate yourself with what's written and with what the Holy Spirit has to tell you. He's constantly guiding, directing you every step of the way. And then last, be transformed by the power of Jesus. And that is where you're no longer held back by your imperfections. We are saved and we're redeemed, and we can wake up every day knowing, you know what, we did our best yesterday, but today I'm going for it, and I'm taking along my arsenal bag, and that is the Trinity. So that's who I am, and those are my questions. So I hope that you are transformed, that you dream big, and you go for it, because there is such freedom in that. All right, see you later.